Hi everyone, my name's Michelle and I'm Mama Loves UGB here on FlossTube, but also over on Instagram as well. Welcome to part 3 of a 2-part series. Yes, I've needed a third part to get through all the things I want to show you. Today I am going to look at the sample of things that I've actually got kitted, and I'm going to do a quick flash and dash of some of the charts that I want to stitch. I'm literally just going to hold up a few charts that I really like and that you might like as well. In the first 2 episodes, which I'm hoping you've watched, I'm going to make a playlist of these 3. I have shown you my samplers I've stitched, I've shown you my antique samplers that I've got, and then in the second episode I showed you all my whips. Far too many, but not enough. So I'm just going to start with the top of the pile and see what gets picked up. So these are the things I've got kitted, which means that I've likely got at least either fabric and or floss. So some of them I might just have fabric, some of them might have fabric and floss. And just because the fabric's in there doesn't mean that's my final choice. That's something I've put by that I think I might want to stitch it on, but I might make a different choice in the end. This little lady, so this is a Welsh Lady. Now I showed you in my regular episode a sampler with a giraffe on it. This has got elephants on it and she's a Welsh girl. So this is A. Thomas, 1882, by Hands Across the Sea, and the chart is called the Nellies. And if you want to find out why there are elephants on there, you'll have to get this chart. So I've got some fabric put by and some DMC, but the fabric I've got put by is the 32 count cream, which is actually quite yellow because the fabric's got quite a yellow base. So I probably will stitch it on that. What have we got here? So I've got Autumn Quakers by Rosewood Manor, and I've also got the little box of Valdanis to stitch it with. So this is a 3-ply thread and you just use it straight off the ball, and it's designed specifically, or this chart is designed specifically with those threads. Because you use a 3-ply, it is charted for a 28 count, I believe, and I have got some 28 count white chocolate by Permin. I got my kit from Arts and Designs up in Scotland, and that was the fabric that they suggested with it. So that's what it's with. Now this is a very interesting one, and this one keeps popping into my mind recently. So this is by Jeanette Douglas. Now I saw this in somebody's retreat. I think there must have been a Jeanette Douglas trunk show at a retreat somewhere, and I saw this and I hunted it down. Now hopefully you can see it's got an alphabet and it's got a border, but it's also got those patches of specialty stitches and just different types of stitch, different types of thread. There's a few different charms on there as well, and I was lucky enough to get the charm and floss pack for it as well. Now I got this from Fobbles and I had it for a birthday present, so in fact I had it for my 40th birthday present, and I'm now 42, so I really need to get on and actually stitch it. It's all done with various different silks, so you've got Gloriana's, Soie d'Alger, Needlepoint Ink, Thread Gatherer, Rainbow Gallery, all sorts of different threads. So the thread pack is quite expensive, but it would be more expensive if you had to buy all of the individual threads and things. So I'm really looking forward to stitching that one. That will be a special one. This one I picked up off eBay, and it came with all the DMC and some fabric as well. And this is another Scottish sampler called the Knox family sampler by the Scarlet Letter. And again, I hope you can see that because it's one of the ones that has the real-time old school photograph on the front. So I've got everything I need to stitch that one. I do like the Scarlet Letter. They have some really, really interesting designs, but their charts can be a little bit hard to read. So if you're looking for a first sampler, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a Scarlet Letter one because they're quite often handwritten charts. But they are beautiful. This one, a Barbara Anna, which I've got all the floss for, but it doesn't help because all the floss is in the way. So this is the Portuguese bird sampler. Which is there. Now I remember the reason I got this was because Emily C was stitching this. I'm sure it was Emily C. And I absolutely loved it. And it says, "Tell me, ye knowing and discerning few, where I my friend may..." I've been like this all day. In fact, I think I actually said to my year 13s, I gave an instruction and then it was just a case of arrange those words into a sentence for me. Let's try again. "Tell me, ye knowing and discerning few, where I my friend..." I'm going to have one more go at it, and if I can't do it, I'm going to give up. I'm going to resign, and I'm going to stitch full time. "Tell me, ye knowing and discerning few, where I may find a friend both firm and true, who dares stand by me when in deep distress, and then his love and friendship most express." That was not difficult. That was not difficult. It's been one of those days. Monday. So this next beauty, I've seen quite a few people stitch recently, and this is Anna Thies, Thies. I would say Thies, but I'm known for poor pronunciation of stuff. And this is by Permanent Copenhagen kit. So it came with all of the floss and some Permin fabric, which if you've not stitched with Permin fabric before, it does have a kind of stiff quality to it, but it soon softens up. I quite like it actually. Who is in here? Another Scarlet Letter. I do like me a Scarlet Letter, and again this is one I think I bought from eBay. This is called Grace Catelyn's sampler of 1719. So it's a band sampler, and it's got all of those beautiful bands. I'm not going to try and read it because that would be too embarrassing. It's never going to work. Quite a few specialty stitches on that one, so we shall get to that one day. Oh, right, I've decided this is going to be my start for Black November sampler, because I have loved this for a million years. I've started this 3 times. Once I didn't like the thread. I can't think what I was stitching it. I think it was Storm Clouds, and it was kind of a greeny brown, and I did the first couple of motifs and I was like, you've just stitched a Quaker sampler in camo colours. And it did, it just looked like camo colours. It looked horrible. And then I started again in black, and I didn't like the fabric. I was stitching it actually on 40 count Sajou fabric, and Sajou fabric's the only fabric of 40 count where you can comfortably use 2 strands, because it's mega holy. There's a lot more holes than fabric on Sajou fabric. So I haven't even shown you Anne Grimshaw 1818. You can now pre-order this on Patchwork Rabbit. Before, the only place you could get it was from the States, or there was one other shop in the UK. but they didn't always have it in. But you can now pre-order this from Patchwork Rabbit. So if you do, don't forget, I've got a link down below and they'll know I sent you. So I have been hoarding blackboard to stitch it in, but do you know what? I think I'm just going to go for black. I really do. I've tried it so many times in threads other than black and it's been a non-starter, so I think I'm just going to go for black. And I've got two choices of fabric. I've got a 40 count Newcastle linen in Cafe au Lait, and I've got a 40 count light mocha as well. If I hold those both up, you can probably see, excuse me, a better difference. The one at the back, this one here, is the mocha. This one is the Cafe au Lait. And I'm still not sure about which way around I'm going to do it. I'll make a decision on the day. So yeah, I really want to start that as my black sampler because I've had so many false starts on it and I absolutely love it. Another one that I love, there's another Quaker, but a more modern take on a Quaker by Mojo Stitches. And I've got most of the threads for this one as well. And this one is called Take Wing. Oops, sorry, I just whacked the camera. This one is called Take Wing. And I love that with all the birds. So this is a kind of a modern sampler. And I wanted to include some of those as well, because samplers are like a drug, but sometimes you need a gateway thing to get you into them, a smaller one, one that looks a little bit more like a sampler. This could be your gateway sampler, okay, to the full reproduction samplers that honestly, once you start on them, there's no looking back. And I've had so many people tell me that recently, that once they've started a sampler, they get it. They've got it. Before, and I was very much the same, 3 years ago, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get samplers. And I stitched one. And now look at me. It's kind of taken over. I still love all different kinds of stitching, but I really do like samplers. And this one here is called Newcastle Bouquet. Now, if you remember a UK programme, you would understand why I call that Newcastle Bucket. Mrs. Bucket, Mrs. Bouquet from Keeping Up Appearances. And I was actually eyeballing, I've got the threads for it, but I was actually eyeballing the other day, Mrs. Sadus has done a silk conversion for Newcastle Bouquet, and I'm quite tempted. This is my fabric. How gorgeous is that? This is another foxglove and lace linen by called Muted Gold, 38 count Muted Gold. I absolutely love Hazel's linen. Absolutely love it. It is some of the best linen that you can buy. And I know I can dye my own linen, and I do dye my own linen. I love hers. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, this one is called Manor at Peacock Hill, which again, some people may tell me is not a sampler. It's got lots of the elements that you might find on a sampler. A lovely border, a big house, and a massive peacock. I love that. And I was helped greatly by a stitchy friend in the States who managed to find that one for me and pass me her copy. So there's all the different threads for that one. When Brenda did her house tour, she showed that one, and I was very, very, very jealous. Now this is an unusual kit for me, because this is a kit without a chart. I treated myself to the Auvera Soir for Anne Roberts. Anne Roberts. Now I believe, I'm trying to rack my brains, I think this came from West End Embroidery. West End Embroidery, I think, have got some kits on their website, or certainly some gatherings of thread. Then obviously you have to get your own chart and your own pattern, but they will provide you with all of the colours for that particular chart. Now the reason that I want to stitch Anne, there we go, is because she's a Welsh girl, and the reason that I had a little splurge on the silks was because quite a few people who've stitched using the DMC have said that it's worth going for the silks on that one. Something about it, just the colours seem to be more settled with the silks, so I treated myself to those. Now, what have I got in here? I have got, in fact, I'm going to save those because I've got a few more in that vein and I'll show them all together. Now I loved this when it came out. I still love it. This is by Rosewood Manor and it's called Ballywick. And I absolutely love that, where you've got all of those motifs on one side and a band on the other. And here are all the DMCs for it. This was in pre the floss drop days, so I have now got lots and lots of floss drops. Thank you so much to everyone. Loving trading them, absolutely loving trading them. I've now got lots of floss drops to make sure that all of these projects are kitted beautifully. A couple of, again, more modern takes on samplers, and these are, I would kind of call them a paired match by the Scarlet House. So this one was the first one that came out, A Perfect World. It says, in a perfect world you would find me here with the birds and the flowers and the dogs and the deer. And then this one came out, and I want to say it came out around pandemic time, because I remember everyone thinking that it was absolutely perfectly worded. It says, when the world seems to be out of control, I find a way to nurture my soul, seeking refuge with needle and thread, the angst and anxiety no longer I dread. Yeah, 2020. And I knew I wanted to do them as a pair, if you like, so I did, when I was dyeing some fabric, I did two twin pieces, so that I can stitch them together and have them hanging up on my wall. One looks slightly darker than the other, but I did them in the same dye pot, so it's just a cast of a shadow. So I've got those for, again, one day when I live to be 809. Ah, okie dokie, this one. And this is a very new, no, it isn't, wrong one, sorry, scratch that. This is Elsa Williams sorry, this is the Wisdom Sampler by Elsa Williams. And I bought this as a kit, and I started it on a very dark fabric, and I did not like it at all. I'm stitching this one with my friend Jenny. She has actually stitched on it more than I have. I started mine and then ditched mine, and then I've gone back and picked out a paler fabric. It's not white, it is a grey. So I got 32 count, because again there's some blended threads in there, and it is that colourway. Now I normally write down on the front what the name of the colourway is, but I can't see that I've done that on that one. So that is a restart. What else have we got left? Ooh, I love this one too. This came with everything I need, including some fabric. And this is another Scarlet Letter called Ruth Batchelor. And I absolutely love those colours. I love the motifs in the centre that are made up. Is it satin stitch? That's the other thing about Scarlet Letter samplers. Sometimes you just end up with a bed sheet of a chart to look at. So yeah, again, this is all hand drawn, and it's actually on two pages, I think. So yeah, but just the colours that attracted me to that one. Another more modern one, which has sort of sampler elements to it. A Quaker Dwelling by Kathy Barrick. And I have picked up a piece of 40 count aged paper, again by Foxglove and Lace. Let's get it out of the bag so that we can see it in its glory. There we go. And I think that's what I'm going to do it on. And I think I might do a little bit of a colour conversion on it, because actually the called for colours bear very little resemblance, I think, to what's on the front. There's a lot of greens, the 501s, 502s, 503s, that range of greens, which I don't think comes through terribly well on the photograph. But I think I might do a bit of a colour change on that one. Where are we going next? Ooh, this one is the Home from the Holidays book, and it has in it Christmas Garden. Now, Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher, stitched the Christmas Garden, and she stitched hers using these colours, because every time she spoke about it I jotted them down and I bought them. So these four colours, so you've got Gloriana Black Cherry, Gloriana Thistle Green, Old Gold and Coffee Bean. And then Michelle from Made by Michelle McGraw was talking about it, I think, and she said that some people switch out the yellow for a white. So I might end up doing that, maybe doing it on a bit of a darker fabric and switching the yellow for a white, but I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I just had to get myself sorted with it so that I would know what I needed. I'm including this one because it's sampler-like. It's not a sampler, but it's sort of sampler-like motifs over a series of pillows. And that's what they all end up like. If that was all stitched on one piece, you would call it a sampler. So it's by Summer House School, sorry, it's called Summer House, no, it's not, it's called Summer Schoolhouse. Again, arrange those words into a correct order. And it's by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I've got the threads for that. Now, the called for is for it to be done over one on 28 count mushroom Lugana. So I have got some 28 count. I don't think it's a mushroom Lugana. It's a cashel, but I can't remember what colour it is. But I still don't know whether I'm going to do it over one on 28 count, or whether I'm just going to let them be just a little bit bigger and do it on 40 or maybe 46 count. I I don't know. I don't know if I can do that much over 1 on 28. I need to give it a try. A few more to go. The Scarlet House. I love this one. It's called Entwined Hearts. And I have got the Called For Weeks Dye Works Aztec Red. And I did have all 3 threads, but I must have... Oh no, I didn't, sorry. I'm going to use a cream from Silks For You, and then I've got the 2 greeny coloured ones, and then I'm probably going to use a black from Silks For You as well. So there's that one. I have got this one by Little Robin Designs, and this is called Clarissa Beaumont. And if you saw that I had dyed some fabric using onion skins, I think that's going to be the perfect match for it. So Clarissa Beaumont is going to be going on my onion skin dyed fabric. And if I remember rightly, that's a 35 count, although it got warmed up, so it might be a little bit tighter than that by now. Talking of Little Robin Designs, actually, this one only came in today, and ever since you previewed it, I've been hankering after this one. Ooh, so much so that I throw it on the floor. And it's this one, a sampler of St Ives, and I just love, love, love that pink colour, that pinky purpley colour. And it just so happens I have some silk, which is Silks For You PR019, and I shall be doing it in that. And it's going to take a team of wild horses to stop me starting it. Ooh, shouldn't be starting anything. This is quite a recent release from Needlework Press, and it is Lucinda Fraser. Now when I stitch Lucinda Fraser, I am going to just stitch, if you look on the back, that's what their design is, but I am just going to stitch the cartouche there. That's what her original design was, and this is what Needlework Press have added on. I like it. That's what drew me to it, was the shape of it. So I'm going to be stitching it just what would have been the original part of the sampler. Oh, I've got one of those really fancy project bags. And there's not many threads, and I have them on my own thread cards this time. There's some greens, some creams, and there's a brown I'm missing, a dark brown. I'm just going to put that on the floor because it's not going to come back in that bag without a fight. Now, this one, the Moonlight Sampler. Now I only got this on, well, I showed it on my video this week just gone, and I was having a conversation over Instagram, I think, with somebody who's asking me what fabric they were going to choose, I was going to choose, because the Called For, which is Lakeside Linen's Wood Smoke, isn't very available in the UK, and I had actually picked out, it's called Winter Wren by Fox and Rabbit Designs. Sorry, I've got too many foxes going on. Winter Wren by Fox and Rabbit Designs, that's right. And interestingly, Stacey the 911 stitcher had got a kit, and they couldn't find, the person who'd made up the kit for her couldn't find the wood smoke, and they'd substituted it for Winter Wren as well, which you can get in this country. But I had another, idea that I'd got a fabric that was kind of this colour. So this is the one that I think I'm going to go for, and I'm just going to take it out of the packet because it's not quite as dark as it's showing there. And I did write on the front of this one what this is. This is nugget or nougat, depending on whether you're a bouquet or a bucket. So this is Zweigart nougat, and again, what's not showing is kind of the slightly more purpley tone to it. In face to face, it's a pretty good substitute, I would suggest. Who else have we got left that I've got kitted? I have got Matter's Choice, which Mama Bear Stitchery has just finished stitching by Carriage House Samplings. And I have chosen Blackboard and Grecian Gold. Now, the question may well be asked, why do you have two colours for a monochrome sampler? I have always thought of that top bit as almost like the light from a lighthouse. I've always seen it with a yellow top and a very dark blue-black bottom. Nobody wants a blue-black bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. Just need to find the right fabric for it that's going to show up both of them. But I think that's what I want to do. I think that's it. And I have in here the Scarlet House, Mary Betchel's 1810 by the Scarlet House. This would have been one of my mania starts had I gotten around to actually starting, but I didn't. I'd chosen a couple of threads which were actually Threadworks threads. I'd chosen 1089 and 1048 because with the Mary Betchel sampler, I'll just show you again. Oh please, there's quite a lot of colour variation in the reds and the dark green, and I think those two threads would have worked really nicely. And then the last thing I have kitted is a Whilst Iris Snaps Designs Lucy Wilson. And whilst I say I have it kitted, I've actually taken the fabric out. I'm going to do it on a 32 count dirty. And the reason it's in here is because Lucy Wilson is Florence May Piggin's mum. So Florence is still sat in there with my eye chart sampler on the back. I haven't quite finished either. Waiting for me to stitch her mum so that I can then mount them or frame them both the same. Whew, how are we doing? You got time for a little bit of a quick flash and dash? Right, I'm just going to pause it because the flash and dashes are right over there. Right, I'm going to start with my multiplication samplers that I have. I love me a multiplication sampler. And whilst I haven't actually got around to stitching one yet, I did talk about them on my FlossTube a few months ago, and quite a lot of people have suggested them and sent them my way. So I have got them all in a little folder. So this is Multiplication Table by Carriage House Samplings, and it's quite a kind of folk arty representation of a multiplication table. Plum Street Samplers did the Vexation Sampler, which takes the idea again of a multiplication table and makes it, I was going to say a little bit more modern, but it is kind of done in the older style and a bit of a modern fusion. This isn't really necessarily in the sampler vein, although it is in my multiplication pouch. And this is from Kathy Barrick, and you can download this one from her. I think there's some other charts there as well. Oh, there are. Put that one aside because I was looking for that one the other day. I've got another one by Kathy Barrick, which is Amelia Prescott, which again is another multiplication sampler. And I also have the one from the Historical Sampler Company as well, which I was sent all the way from the States by Lisa. So that's my kind of multiplication sampler collection. And then I've got some of these to show you. So I'm just going to go quick. These are some of my favourite sampler charts. Some are modern, some are reproduction, some are a bit of fusion. This is CW Samplers Pet All the Dogs by Kezia Kohl. Sorry for the glare on there, but I'm sure you've all seen this one before. Susan Rambo. That border is amazing. This is the chart by Crosspoint Designs, but Susan Rambo was also in an edition of the Antique Needlework and Sampler Quarterly magazine, or Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly. It's Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly. Again, arrange those words into the right order. This is from the Haslemere Museum, and this is Mary Gibbon, or Mary Gibbon's sampler. Now the top is a little bit religious for my tastes, but I've always fancied, making a drum with the bottom row. And that's a fantastic thing about samplers. You don't have to stitch the whole thing. You could get so many smalls from one sampler design, and Blackbird Designs are absolute far and away queens of doing that. There's lots of little booklets where they'll take a big sampler and then they'll reproduce the sampler, but reproduce sort of smalls taken from it as well. And anybody can do that. If you buy a big sampler, you don't have to stitch the whole thing. So this is a nice little one, Liberty House by Brenda Gervais. Again, it's not necessarily a sampler, but it's got a lot of sampler elements to it that make me like it. This one, the Scarlet House, this is Sarah Elizabeth Brooke, 1842. And I love me a house, and I especially love me a house that you build brick by brick. I'm going to try and read this one. No glory I covet, no riches I want, ambition is nothing to me. The one thing I beg of good heaven to grant is a mind independent and free. Now this is one that I don't see very often. This is by Samplers Revisited. And this is Kezia Kohl's. And I like that a lot. I like the kind of open border to it very, very much. This is in no particular order, by the way, as you've probably already worked out. Now, if you haven't seen this book, it's really worth trying to get your hands on it. It's called The Abécédaire Rouge by Reflet de Soie, and it is 5 red samplers. Are they all French? I think they're all French. They're certainly all European if they're not French. Fabulous. Now this one I bought because Susie Reno was stitching it, and pretty much anything Susie Reno stitches I want to stitch. And this is by Shakespeare's Peddler. This is Ragamuffin #2, and again I really like that kind of open border. and the Quaker style lettering. Love, love, love. This is by Needlework Press. I've got a real thing for Needlework Press. I find the most interesting things. This is called Catherington 1882, a red sampler, but it does have a green border. And I really liked the open letter work on this one. Ellen Harrison, again by Needlework Press. What is not to love about that deer with the most amazing antlers? It's just phenomenal. And it's got an umbrella on it as well. A deer with an umbrella. You can't ask for more than that. Oh, the old back's not surviving well. Couldn't not include Mary Griffiths. Now, I'm sure you've seen this a million times. If you're interested, I did have the Welsh read out by the Venerable Dorian Davis a few videos ago. It was a birthday surprise for Ellen Reid. So if you haven't seen that, do backtrack and go and have a look at that video, because it was so nice to hear the Welsh spoken. Now this crazy little number is Hannah Greenwood by Queenstown Sampler Designs. And I loved this one when I saw it. It's just a crazy number. Crazy, crazy. Caroline Amelia Trowell by With Thy Needle and Thread. This is probably is it the newest one of their booklets, or is there one newer one? But I'm starting to see this one being finished on Instagram by a few people, so it's moving up my list of ones that are sort of tapping on me. Now I've always liked this one as well, and this was in an edition of Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly magazine. This is Margaret Jane Ledbetter, and I just love that. But I also love lots of the motifs, and you could take any one of those little motifs and just make it into a small little pin keep or a little scissor fob, something like that. This one I like. Present to Esther Clark. The dogs. Something a little bit different. This one has been turned into sort of a stitches tray. So it reminds me of the motifs that you would find on a sampler, hence I've included it here. But I just wanted you to see again the wealth of different designs, different things that you can do with it. A sampler is not just something that you just frame and hang on the wall. You can do so many different things with it. This one I like too, again by Mojo Stitches, Sarah Handley. What year is she? 1847. Totally different take on a type of building, but still with those traditional sampler alphabets on. Another little Needlework Press one, Jane E. Horton. I'm a bit of a sucker for horizontal samplers. I may have mentioned that before. Now this one I love. This one I love. Alice Beerton. And I had to get this one from the States. I've never found this one in the UK. Doesn't mean to say that somebody couldn't get it for you, but I've never found it. And I was ordering from, I want to say Country Sampler actually, I think, and I added this to my order because I love the way this is set out. Absolutely loved it. And that's by Samplers Remembered, Alice Beerton. One of Jacob's newest releases, the Dutch Sampler. No, IDM, the Dutch Birds Sampler. And again, I've seen a few people finishing this one up and it looks phenomenal. I told you this was going to be a whistle-stop tour. Now this one, again, I was kind enough to have gifted to me by a lady called Ramona. And this is another Barbara Anna. So for those of you who haven't seen Barbara Anna's samplers, she has got quite a few. And there's another one that I really like, which has got a cat on the bottom left-hand corner, and I can't remember the name of it. So this is Henrietta Goodrich. And I just love it. I I just love it. It's got red houses, it's got Adam and Eve characters. I say characters, not in any disrespectful way, but the way they're drawn on this one, it's a little bit more caricature. Now, I hankered after this one for ages. Again, Needlework Press, the Mexican band sampler. Could not find it in the UK, really struggled to find it in the US. And in the end, I think I got it from Country Sampler. Another needlework press. Can you tell I'm a bit of a collector of needlework press? Harriet Ann Hewson. Like this one because I really like the four-sided stitch that's on it. Love the colours on that one. Again, Susie Reno's Fault. 1896 Alpha Block Sampler, again by Needlework Press. An American folk art sampler. And she stitched this with a few of her pals a few years ago. And ever since then, I've been hankering after it. Another Needlework Press one. I don't work for Needlework Press, honestly. I wish I did. I wish I did. And Be Kind to One Another. So this is the companion piece to In All Things Be Exceedingly Diligent, which was released this year. So this is Leela Studio SL 1862, the small sampler. It's part of Susanna Lynch. It's the bottom part of the Susanna Lynch sampler. And I keep looking at the Susanna Lynch sampler and thinking, oh, should I just get the whole sampler? But again, I really like it just like this. So this is just the bottom more pictorial motifs from a sampler. So it hasn't got the alphabets on the top. It's just the bottom piece. Another one by Shakespeare's Peddler. This is Hannah Carter. And I love this one too. Just something about the lettering that I really, really like. It says, have communion with few, be familiar with one, deal justly with all, and speak evil of none. Now this is a beautiful little one. This is Mary Ann England by La Di Da. And if you were looking for a real sort of starter sampler, you could start on this one. In fact, there's loads of Wild Starry Snaps that you could start on as well. Just something simple, something to capture your imagination. You could stitch that in whatever colour you wanted to, but it's beautiful. This is the American Quaker Band sampler. Now, if you remember, I bought this from eBay and it had part of this started, and I actually turned the bit that was started into a drum. And because I couldn't work out the colours that the lady had used, but that's the sampler. Now this is an interesting one by the sampler, and this is Marta Hallott. Marta Hallott, which again is phenomenal. Love those colours, the pinks, the reds, the greens. And we've just got alphabets and her name in the middle. So this is a spot motif sampler. Just a few more, promise. Now I would have pronounced this first of all as C.C. Smith, but I believe Brenda has pronounced it Kezia Smith. Again, another spot motif, Dutch spot motif sampler. Not terribly big, this one, but a lot of stitching in her. Another Shakespeare's Peddler. This is Martha Moulder's Two Skinny Dogs. Sorry, this one is a bit tightly packaged, so there's a lot of glare on this one. And I love those trees. I love the trees as much as I love the two skinny dogs. And the parrots atop of the trees. It's just skinny everything. Skinny house, skinny trees, skinny birds, skinny dogs. This is a GGR one called Lizzy's Bristol. Lizzy's Bristol? Yeah, 1889. And I just quite like the rows and rows of alphabets and the sort of pyramid pile of motifs at the bottom. Almost like it either wasn't finished, or maybe that's just what she fancied. She just maybe fancied a pyramid of motifs at the bottom. Oh, what have I got left? What have I got left? This one by Stone Street Stitchworks. I think this is just a little darling. Just a little gap filler on a sampler wall. A couple of Quaker motifs, a bit of a house. I don't think you can go far wrong with that. And this one, little marking sampler idea that's been made into a little needle roll. Again, doing something different with your samplers. And last but not least, we couldn't not include that, could we? And there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this whistle stop tour. I hope you've had a pen and paper close at hand and you have been making lots of notes as you've been going through, and that you will treat yourself to some samplers. Take care. Messed that bit up. Right, I'm going to go now because I've missed up this end bit 3 or 4 times and I just can't get it right. So I hope you've enjoyed looking through my samplers. I hope you've got some inspiration. I'll see you soon. Stay classy, Stitchers.